Hi, welcome to the Careers Unfiltered podcast with Mentoria. You may know your dream job, you may know your dream career, but do you know what goes on behind the scenes in your chosen career path? Have you been able to separate the glamour from the reality in your career? Do you know the good, the bad, and the ugly in your career? Most people walk into their careers without having any idea in terms of what really happens in that career, how to crack success, how to get the right job, how to grow in the career. Don't be those people. Get the ins and outs of your career path through some of the best subject matter experts and industry professionals that Mentoria will bring to you on the Careers Unfiltered podcast.
When we talk about the ancient Indian period, the early Indian period, 80% of information that we have about the history of this period comes solely from inscriptions. So as far as both the quality and the quantity of information is concerned, epigraphy inscriptions, they rank amongst the top. Any letter, word, any sentence, phrase, or verse that was ever composed during the early Indian period, and it can be on any surface, whether it was on stone, on rocks, on copper plates, on gold coins, all those things will interest an epigraphist. So basically, we primarily deal with the ancient scripts and ancient languages. And to glean information from these ancient inscriptions, that is what an epigraphist's job is. So primarily what we do is we decipher these inscriptions. So decipherment is basically a three-part process. We transliterate it, which means we basically convert the ancient scripts into modern scripts. Can be Devanagari, in which we write Hindi, can be the Roman script in which we write English. Then we translate it so that at least the common reader, the general reader, can understand those inscriptions. And then we interpret it. We try to absorb as much information as we can from these inscriptions. So as far as your class 11th and 12th is concerned, any orthodox combination of arts, humanities subject will suffice. Obviously, history being a necessity at that time. And it would really behoove a person if they take a subject like geography or political science along with history, because these are complementary disciplines. Fundamental knowledge, at least, of geography is required. So geography works best with history. So if you can start with these three disciplines, I guess you are on to the right path at the start. And then for your graduation program, I guess, again, any orthodox bachelor's degree, preferably with an honors in history, would suffice. You have to start as early as possible, and epigraphy is incomplete if you do not have a background in linguistics, if you do not have knowledge of any one of these ancient or medieval languages. So that is where you have to make this decision. Do you want to pursue a career in ancient Indian epigraphy? Because then you'll have to pick up a language like Sanskrit during your undergrad days. And if medieval history is something that interests you, then maybe a language like Persian would at least benefit you more. And then as far as master's program is concerned, here now you have to be a little bit unorthodox. So here a master's degree in history won't benefit you much. Instead, you go for a very specialized program. There are a few universities in India like Punjab University, Utkal University, Banaras Hindu University, which offer a specialized master's program called Masters in Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, like the one I have pursued. So here you will be trained not just in epigraphy, but complementary disciplines like numismatics and archaeology, basically anything and everything that is required for you to become an epigraphist later on in life. It would be best if you want to pursue then a PhD. Now here again, two choices will come to the fore, whether you want to become just like a traditional epigraphist, like one which is employed by the Archaeological Survey of India. Then PhD is not a prerequisite for that. If you want to pursue a career in academia, then obviously PhD is a must. And PhD, again, something related to epigraphy or even congruent to it will suffice at that point. So there are postgraduate diplomas that Archaeological Survey of India, the Institute of Archaeology offers. And there are also other PGDA diplomas that you can get from some state universities, public universities. And there are the master's program, because as far as epigraphy is concerned, you have to understand it's not a skill, it's not a discipline that you'll be able to pick up within a few weeks or a few months. It takes years and years of you to hone your craft. If you can clear JRF, the Junior Research Fellow exam, along with the UGC NET, then you also get probably upwards of 40,000 scholarship while you do your PhD programs. So that is why I guess if there is one entrance exam that everyone needs to focus on, it's the UGC NET JRF, which I guess would be common for multiple disciplines. Every day you have to hone your skills. In epigraphy, becoming at least rusted, it's very easy. So every day I make sure that I do something where I can at least push the envelope as far as my technical skill is concerned. That is why maybe learning some specific skill regarding an ancient language, some particular skill regarding an ancient script, I will spend some time where I try to make myself better. And that is very important in epigraphy. So I guess one would be working knowledge of Indian history is pivotal, obviously, because you won't understand, even if you are able to decipher the inscription, interpret it, you won't be able to place it in its proper context. It's important that you should also focus on the disciplines of archaeology and disciplines of numismatics, because the thing with epigraphy is it's not a discipline that works best in isolation. It's not a discipline which can become just, controlled in a silo. You need its sister disciplines like numismatics. You need the sister discipline like sigillography, the study of seals. There will be these 3 books. If you can go through all of them, or even just one of them will be fine. I guess the book that I can think of first, and which I believe is the most important, because it, in some sense, it popularized the discipline of epigraphy, and that was Richard Solomon's Indian Epigraphy. It's a brilliant work. Anything that you need, any information that is required for you to start building a career in epigraphy, this book is the best book if you can pick it up. And a similar book, I guess, a pioneering work was this epigraphist, George Wheeler, one of the greatest epigraphists the discipline has seen, his book, Indian Paleography. That in some sense was a pioneering work. So again, respect has to be paid to the pioneers. It's on their shoulders, the shoulders of giants, that we stand. Now you want to move more towards specialization. And now this is not just like a book, it's like a volume. Then there is this Epigraphia Indica volume, multiple volumes, more than 40 volumes. But again, just if you want to understand the feel of it, just pick up any one volume and just go through that. So like traditionally, we have this Archaeological Survey of India. It's our parent body. And any and every inscription that has ever been found obviously is catalogued with them, and they will have their own resident epigraphists whose job is to decipher these inscriptions. So initially there was this compendium that had come up, we call it the Epigraphia Indica. More than 40 volumes of it has been published. So the epigraphist's job there is to any inscription that was discovered, they used to decipher it, that used to be penned down, published in this volume, and it was released to the public so that at least the historians can then work on the information that is there in the inscriptions. Majority of the day will be marked by thinking and introspection. I guess that would be similar for every researcher. So as an epigraphist, because I am also an academician, I'm also a faculty member here, so half of the day will be spent taking those epigraphy classes, teaching the students at least the nitty-gritty of this discipline. Primarily, you are just dealing with some pieces of rocks and copper plates where you are trying to decipher those written words. Primarily, I deal with multiple scripts. There is the Brahmi script, there is a Kharoshthi script, there is the Greek script, there is an Aramaic script. I primarily work with these 4 ancient scripts. And it's very easy, when you start working with one script, you start losing the at least idiosyncrasies of some other script. So that is why you have to spend those times. Like I spend, at least as part of my routine, I will spend half an hour with every script every day, just trying to make sure that at least I am well versed in all of them. Because as far as inscriptions are concerned, see, these inscriptions were composed like a millennia or 2 millennia ago. So they are, obviously there will be some lacunas, some gaps where the stone has peeled off, where the letters have been faded away. And as an epigraphist, most of the time you find yourself just guessing the words that would have been written at that time. That is why in some sense you feel like you are solving this crossword puzzle. You know that there is a 6 letter word that comes here, but what is the word exactly that the people of that time would have chosen? I guess the biggest challenge that someone from my field is faced with is procuring a research grant, I guess. Because for the most part, when we go out and we have to seek funding for our projects, first I have to spend a majority of my time explaining to the committee what the discipline of epigraphy means, because there is still that absence of knowledge. And that is why I guess webinars like these are important, because the general population has to know what this specialization is and what it entails. It becomes very difficult to justify the academic necessity of a project which is based on epigraphy. And that is why most of the people that at least I have encountered, it becomes very problematic, because if you do not have that sense of history, you will never understand why a project on epigraphy is important. If you do not have an institutional backing behind you, then just following through your projects and just making sure that they lead to fruition becomes very, very tough for an epigraphist. You have to be very cautious not to go for any of these certificate courses that come up online. There will be those 2-week courses, those 4-week courses that people are offering. Because obviously, maybe you get an understanding, a basic understanding of the script itself, but that doesn't do you any good. It is the digital age. We have moved at least away from our traditional understanding of linguistics. Like right now, there are some colleagues of mine who have been working on developing an AI program which will try to analyze the Sanskrit that is there in the ancient text of Ramayana. But that is still in its nascent stages. I don't think relying on that would help much, at least as far as the present generation is concerned. Maybe a decade from now, we will reach a stage where we'll be able to rely more on these computational programs. You cannot call yourself an epigraphist if you do not have the knowledge of the language that you are dealing with. Today's day and age is concerned, because it's that time where a traditional epigraphist as such, I would like to say, does not exist. We are more like academicians, we are educators. Most of the epigraphists, as far as I know, belong to the branch of academia. It's more or less, it has become a project-based thing, where you try to pick up a project, you pick up a particular region, or you pick up a particular language, you can pick up a particular dynasty, a particular political entity, and you try to at least, because most of the inscriptions we have already discovered, there are no major discoveries that have been taking place in the last 2 decades. So the information is there. It's just that where we do differ today will be on translations and interpretations. Let's say if you have done your master's or you have done your postgraduate diploma in epigraphy, then there are multiple career avenues that will open up. You can follow the path of a traditional epigraphist, where there are these archaeological circles, and they will all have a resident epigraphist there. So at least you can join a particular archaeological circle for that. There are also museums which will, at least many of them, many prestigious museums again will have a resident epigraphist post there. So you can at least follow with that thing. Or you can also, there are these now heritage institutions that are opening up. So you can at least maybe approach them, because even if they don't have, let's say, a particular post for an epigraphist, everyone, any conscientious institute will recognize the importance of having an epigraphist. And then you can follow this traditional route if you want to become an academician. If you have done your PhD, then you can join a university, because there are multiple departments. At least I'm seeing this tendency these days that there are even history departments, orthodox traditional history departments, who are specifically hiring epigraphists. If you are, again, if you are pursuing a traditional like a path, like let's say you become a like a superintendent archaeologist in ASI, and you can rise to the ranks of even director epigraphy. So there you will have what even a directorial position basically is equal to professorial position. So it will have that government pay scale, the UGC pay scale that comes up with it. So you start with the pay scale 10 and then it goes up till 13. But I guess if money is something that interests you more, and it should, why not? Then a career in academia at least would benefit you. But academia pays a lot, especially because the reason why I say that is something very interesting about epigraphy is because I have been part of the recruitment committee for my university. Here, the demand for an epigraphist is more than the supply. During your post-graduation days, which is the script that you had focused upon more? Again, it's very important as far as when we talk about, let's say, a language like Sanskrit, the importance of understanding this language is well established in academic circles across Europe. In fact, it sometimes baffles many people that right now, the as far as again the quantity and quality of research that is being pursued in Sanskrit in ancient Indian history, most of it is being pursued by foreigners in Europe. So if you go there with a knowledge in Sanskrit, with a knowledge in Indian epigraphy, in a script like Brahmi, you will, in fact, I'll say it's easier to get a job in Europe rather than in India. That is how important these ancient scripts are there. And secondly, again, if in your post-graduation days, let us say you have picked up a script like Greek, because Greek was being used at that time in the Indian subcontinent, and it was also being used throughout Europe. So if you have picked up a script which is more, I guess, international or Eurocentric in some way, then obviously the importance of it will be recognized once you move abroad. So that is why if you have, again, as far as the technical knowledge is concerned for an epigraphist, it's the same across the board. So you can pursue a degree in India, and if you want to get a job anywhere, especially if you want a job in Europe, in a country like Germany, Austria, or England, where Indian history is huge these days, you will see that how benefiting a degree in India is abroad.